Hey guys, it's Tricia Carr. I have new exciting things going on with my Mystic Arts Academy. You can now subscribe to receive all of the live monthly content for about a third of the investment of a single class. Included are at least one downloadable guided meditation per month, 2 live events ranging from classes, channeled messages, group readings, intuitive development guidance, Q&A sessions, and tons of community. You'll also have access to a private Facebook community for fellowship and support, and this space is kept super sacred and high vibrational. Your subscription gives you access to the whole library of classes and live events, which are on a vast array of topics. All events are offered online by Zoom video call, and many are also offered live in person at my studio here in Los Angeles. Subscribing to the Mystic Arts Academy is also a way for you to support the Charmed Life podcast and engage on a deeper level. I'm offering the subscription at a super low rate of $22 a month. Joining now locks in this rate for as long as you're subscribed. Click on the description of this episode or go to my website, triciacarcharm.com, and click on Mystic Arts Academy. I look forward to connecting. Welcome to Charmed Life, a multimedia podcast discussing spirituality, magic, and the unconditional love of the universe. Thanks for tuning in. And I am your host, Tricia Carr. Welcome to this episode. I'm really excited. I have a fellow podcaster, fellow healer and reader on today. She has a friend, a really close friend who was on the program a few weeks ago, several episodes ago. And so I am welcoming on today Natasha Levenger. She's an energy reader and healer and a spiritual coach. And I just love how she combines all these different modalities, which we're going to get into today on this episode. Welcome, Natasha.
Thank you. Hello.
Did I say your last name right? I forgot to check.
Yeah, you did.
Okay.
Yeah. Great job.
And so Natasha is also co-host of Magic Monday podcast. So and so I don't know. I mean, like, you're just so magical, and I love what you guys are doing. Her podcast partner is Tess Whitehurst, who was on, like I say, several weeks ago, several episodes back. So I'm really honored to have you on as well. So let's just get into it. Let everyone know about your journey, what kind of work you're doing, and the podcast, all of it.
Okay. So you want me to tell you my whole life?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, great. Well, I was actually looking at your site, and we do a lot of the same things. It looks like animal communication.
You do animal communication?
Yeah,
I didn't know that. Oh, yay. I love it.
Yeah. Do you have a lot of animals too?
Only 11. No.
Well, we have 16.
Okay, so. See? So you actually get it. Win. I only have 11. we have a very small space, and you win. No, normally when I tell people that, which I didn't expect you to, they're like, what? And sometimes I frame it as we have 11 mouths or 11 buttholes.
That's so funny. Yeah. Well, we used to live in Los Angeles too, and we had a smaller space. So when we now live in Asheville, and when we moved, it was like one of our goals was to have a bigger space so we could have more animals. So
well, tell me about that's where we're going to start. Who lives with you? Who's all in your family? You have like a husband or something, blah, blah, blah. Who cares?
Wait, what'd you say?
I said, you have a husband, I'm sure, blah, blah, blah. Who cares? My husband's always last of the list, even though I love him the most.
Well, my husband actually produces our podcast, so he's extra special around here for that part, but he's also amazing. But I have a husband and 2 human children who are 13 and almost 11. And then we have 13 cats and 3 dogs.
Oh my gosh, 13 cats? How many of them are black? Are many of them solid black?
Yes, many of them are solid black. Not even, although we do like to adopt black cats because no one adopts them, which is terrible.
It's crazy.
It's so crazy. They are so, I love all cats, but they're really great, obviously. So what we did here is we have a finished basement. Actually, my husband built my daughter a loft bed in part of it, and we have 6 cats that have leukemia there because leukemia is contagious to other cats. So they have to be completely quarantined, and they're all healthy. They just carry, it's different than in humans.
Sure.
It's like a virus, I think. So we were actually fostering. So I would always say, oh, we have 13 cats, but not really. We only have 7, but then something happened and we had to adopt them all. So we really do have 13 cats. But anyway, so there's 6 down there in the basement. And then we have 2 other floors. We always separate them like basement cats, upstairs cats, and downstairs cats. And then 3 dogs. We have a Chihuahua and 2 Chihuahuas and a boxer.
Oh, wow. Oh,
yeah.
One big guy and 2 littles. That's cute.
Yeah. So we used to have a pit bull that we loved, and then that was a tragic story that I don't want to upset you with, so I won't say it, but he died. That was almost 2.5 years ago.
Oh,
but
sorry. Well, well, you have 7 foster failures. I get it. I only have 1 foster failure.
Oh, that's good. Well, you have more than that. We have this cat that I always say I Jane Goodalled her, because we got her from this rescue, and she was extremely fractious. I mean, like extremely aggressive. And when we first got her, we put her on my husband's desk, and he couldn't get her off the desk to work. And she kept scratching, like lunging at him. And he put on these 2, he put on oven mitts, like long oven mitts, and a leather jacket to protect himself, just to move her. And she tore them off his arms. But then they were going to take her, and I was like, what are you going to do with her? And they said, we'll just put her back where she was, which was this terrible place that was getting her more anxious. I was like, well, give us another try. So they had to net her, like put her in a net. Anyway, I don't know if this is why you wanted me to be on your show, but
yes,
here we are.
Absolutely. I want to hear all of
it. Anyway, we put her in this big dog crate. It was a cage, like, humane cage. But anyway, we slowly worked with her. And then one day, finally, she let me pet her. And now she's a member of our family. She's a normal cat, except that she hates other cats, which.
Oh, so I have a cat who, so was she feral, are you saying, or was she actually in a
She
home?
wasn't feral. She just was what happened. She's like already, kind of got an edge. And then she was dumped by her people. And she was getting just more and more angry because they had her in this back area. And she was just getting more and more angry where she was. So she just needed to calm down. To be normal. She's still, like we call her boss lady, because she walks like, she owns the room.
Yeah.
But she just was pissed that she was where she was.
Oh, poor baby. Yeah. I have, so I have one cat who doesn't like cats, and he has his own apartment, is what we call it. So we have this huge front room. And it's like his apartment. And so he's in there during the day. And then at night, the other 3. So I actually have 2 ferals who, they're not totally feral, because we have an emotional relationship, and mental and emotional, and they look me in the eye, and they come within a foot of me when I'm out there, but I've never, pet them. They don't have we don't have a physical relationship, and I haven't transitioned them because the female, they're a couple too, they're in love and they're married. Aww. And the female has FIV. So, and it's a very good environment. They don't leave the backyard, but I couldn't really take her as a mature FIV and bring her into my home. It's just too great a risk,
Because she's feral. I mean, normally it's not a big deal. We've had lots of FIV cats, but if they're feral.
Feral, with the scratching and,
Yeah. We have 2 feral leukemia cats.
Okay. Yeah. But they're with other leukemia cats. Yeah. And so that's, but they're very happy on the back porch too. She and her husband, Tom. They are. They're married. So we're going to call this episode Cat Chat.
Yeah, sure.
But I do have an ex-feral. Her name is Delilah, and she just grew in our garden. I brought her in, and we call her Spicy because she still has like that feral edge to her, but she's like such a puddle. But the other one, the one, his name is Con, and he is a rehome. So he came to live with us just when he was about 6. And yeah, he doesn't like cats. So he has his own apartment. But then at night, the other three, the three who live inside, there are four inside all day. And all together. The other three, we've always put them in their own bedroom to go to sleep so that, you can sleep. And so they were already, they like go right to bed and they wait for us to close the door. They like it. But then Con gets to walk. He goes and reads the newspaper and checks the perimeter and then like comes and sleeps with us. And then in the morning, he just goes right to his apartment. He's like, come take me to my apartment now. Close the door, please. Anyway.
That's so funny.
So the deal with not liking cats.
What's that?
Oh, I'm sorry. I want to hear about not liking cats. She actually, go ahead though.
She thinks she's a dog now. So she is like one with the dogs. We always say we're here on the couch with our 4 dogs because she's like really wants to be a dog. And I don't know. I mean, like she's more bark than bite, definitely. But one of our cats, Keith, that comes downstairs, we have very little overlap from the ones that stay in our bedroom. They don't really come downstairs except for one. Keith, who she like will run up to him like all fierce, and then he gets scared and runs away. But really, if he confronted her at all, she would just back off, because we have another one who told me her name was Little Lady. We usually like to name our cats human names, but she told me that was her name. So I was like, all right, little cutesy, but if that's your name. So then she actually was like kind of feral-ish, but not just like she's real skittish. Not skittish, like I can't think of the word, but like loosey goosey with how she moves. Like she kind of lets you pet her, but she's real sweet. Anyway, when Georgia, the one that doesn't like cats, comes up to her, she just goes right up to her. And so now Georgia does leave her alone, even though she's not her favorite. It's not like she's attacking her. So
they have something worked out. They have something worked out.
Yeah, exactly.
So you're an animal communicator with a cat who doesn't like cats. And so I don't have to feel guilty about having a cat who doesn't like cats, because I'm like, I feel like I'm supposed to resolve this somehow. But I also have, you know what I mean? Like they're individual. And it's a lesson that I've learned through my journey of being an animal, having animals in my family, and then also with being, animal communication, and just learning that not every relationship that you have with each of your animals is going to be like the other ones, and they're going to be individual. And, like Con just basically, I don't like cats. And he's actually, he's a purebred Russian blue, and someone else bought him, and we right. Not that matters. They're all cats and they're all animals. But I know, shop not adopt, but I actually adopted, or adopt not shop. I said that wrong. Anyway, but they are known to be like, they bred them to be human companions. And so I wonder if that's it. Like if it's kind of a part of his conditioning, his DNA conditioning.
Right. I mean, it's just like with people, sometimes your patterns are just really in there, and it takes a while to clear them out if you're not working on them. I mean, that's just their personality, and you're not going to really, I mean, I did work on updating their contracts with Georgia and Keith, the one that she's like real aggressive with. I do that pretty regularly.
Well, let's talk about that. Let's talk about updating the soul contract. So let's think about, okay, now we're going to get into I think everyone enjoyed it. I'm going to affirm that everyone enjoyed it. Our cat conversation. So updating and I think that would be really interesting, because as an animal communicator, I'm sure even that you are like me, and I learn so much about how to work with people from not just so much, everything, because they are more natural. Animals and nature, it's natural, and when we're off, we're out of sync with nature, and out of which nature and spirit, we're out of sync with those. And talk about updating the soul contract, both from the animal, like working with your animals, how you do that for your animals, and then how you do it for your clients, your human clients.
Well, I think it might be different than I don't know how you do it. You can tell me after, but it's actually pretty simple for the most part. I just bring up the contract. Maybe that sounds like not simple to people, but you can just do it. I mean, I imagine the contract there, and then I get a feel for what's on it. I look at like Is it in present time? Is it in past time? Where are they? You know, what is on it? What pictures? I work in pictures most. I do everything, kind of all the different things. But initially, I would look at pictures. Like I can just do it right now to look at Keith. So like I'll just get a sense like, oh, Keith is retreating. He feels like actually in his third chakra that he's, well, because she's whacking him in his third chakra. She's sending him a cord, like trying to like, show who's boss. So I would clear that off the contract and bring Keith more in present time so that he's not operating from past pictures of what was happening. I think for me with contracts, the most powerful thing is to bring it into present time. And it is interesting with a lot, I will see often in family contracts that the family, depending on the family, they don't want to update it. I've seen some pretty controlling families. I mean, no judgment, but that's just where they are. They're very married to their contract. So there's only so I am not an invasive healer. I don't mess with. I have to have agreement on an energy level from everybody that what I'm doing is okay, and I feel that agreement. If there's resistance, I won't do it because I'll just be like, okay, this is what they're willing to do.
Do you, like, for example, do you ask Keith, like, as you recognize that before you proceed, or you're just kind of doing it's just energetically, and you know that if it's shown to you, then that's something that is, you know what I mean? Like, do you dissect it that way?
So it's different for Keith. It's different because I know he trusts me and that he works, you know, I work with him a lot. If he's right in front of me, I'll tell him like, oh, I want to do this now. You know, and he's never said no.
Yeah.
George does a little more like, but she'll do it anyway. But with other people, if if they're not in the room, I can't do healing. I won't do healing. Some people that aren't in the room.
Yeah.
But I will look at their energy as much as they will let me on a being level. I mean, it's not infrequent that I'll say if somebody's asking about another person, that doesn't want to be seen, I'll just have to tell them they're only showing me like a little bit. So I can only do what there are people that I've worked with that just go in the people's spaces without permission, and I don't
agree with that either. And what it is how I describe it, the words that I put to it is, so I'm with, you know, client, call her Susan, and Susan says, I'm having a problem with my mom, Lucy. And so it's like any information that comes in about Lucy, about the mom, I'm going through the portal of Susan, the one who is asking, and it's kind of like Lucy's public broadcast. You know what I mean? It's almost like her Facebook profile that she's already obviously showing the world. And then it always seems to relate back to Susan. You know what I mean? Like, because she's the one who's consenting. I know you agree with that. I can feel it, but I'm just saying it for people out there who's listening. Yeah. You know, we want absolute explicit consent from others, but when you're in a situation working with one person, then there's like relationships, and there are the cords between them, and the you know, that exist between them, that are kind of the resonant energy between the two of them. But you can go into people's field without their permission, and that's not cool. That's like hacking into their Facebook profile and looking at their credit card information.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good way to put it. Yeah, I'd never go into spaces, but I will. I feel like most of the time I see more than, say, their Facebook profile, but it's whatever they are allowing on a being level, and you can feel it, you know. Well, I literally won't be able to see it because of your intention. Your intention is gentle, and what only the free will and all that kind of. Yeah, totally, I agree. And it's but here's the other thing. Like you said, it's more than your Facebook profile. But the other thing is, you would be able to look at someone's Facebook profile and get a lot more than most people because of what you can. You know what I mean? Like what you can see by even if you're just using what you can feel empathically, and you know what I mean? Like it can be extremely accurate, and it tends to happen. Well, the other thing is, do you do mediumship too? Do you connect with? Well, yeah, I do. Stuff? I have mixed feeling about these words. They're just hard to know. Because, I talk to dead people.
Sure. Yeah.
Put it that way. Yeah. But I don't like channel, again, with this going in spaces, I don't channel them. Like, I don't feel them in my energy field. I talk to them like another person, as if they did have a body. So I guess it's mediumship. Because also, as far like, I call what I do energy reading and healing. So the first part is if you had a session with me, the first part is a reading, then the second part is a healing of every session. So in every session. So some people, I think traditionally it's called psychic reading or intuitive reading, but none of that feels right to me because I don't tell the future.
Well, I don't know. I don't think of psychic as necessarily having to do with precognition. And I very infrequently do I read timelines. Like, I don't even look at timelines. Every now and again, I feel like a timeline can be helpful because it can be either a caution or it can be a motivation, but I don't ever, and when someone asks me about a timeline thing, I'm like, well, you're just going to limit yourself to this energy snapshot. You don't want to do that?
Yeah, good point.
Because that's all it is.
Also, I don't really believe, I think sometimes the future, I mean, there's so many variable futures, like you said, you don't want to limit yourself. Yeah. So occasionally I will do it if it's like the next week and it's very urgent. Like, for instance, my husband's father passed away in June, and while he was still alive, my husband was like, I don't know if I should go now or wait. And his family was telling him, you can wait, it's okay. But I really that was one time where I was like, I'm just going to feel the energy. And I think sometimes when the energy is really strong, like if somebody like my father-in-law was ready to go. So it was like, all of his energy was pretty clear.
Yeah.
That it was like, it could have changed, maybe he wouldn't have, but that's where his momentum was.
Do you know who Daryl Anka is? He's a channel, and he channels someone, an ET entity named Bashar. Have you ever heard?
Oh, no.
Well, one thing that Bashar says, the way that he talks about creating a reality, is that we are selecting billions of parallel realities, or we're selecting our parallel realities billions of times per second. So you think about it that way. Like, in 1 second, there are billions of parallel realities, and that's how we're actually creating the future. Whoa. Then, there's now, I mean, the reason I think that fortune telling or future telling can happen is because there's just so many choices, and it seems pretty obvious that people are not going to change their ways. And I actually wrote an article about this probably 2-3 years ago. And it's like why psychics shouldn't predict the future. And I used it. That's kind of jarring, but it's because that's the hopefully I'm going all over the place. I'm now remembering Edgar Cayce said that he tells the future so that it won't come true. I think he's credited with saying that, it's again a cautionary tale. So hopefully this won't happen. And even if you have a positive fortune telling that comes through, it's like, well, don't limit yourself to that. Maybe instead of 2 years, it can happen in 1 year. Instead of 2 months, it could be 2 weeks, if that's what's more aligned, if you get in that alignment. So
yeah. I've never wanted to go so far in the future. It doesn't.
No, yeah.
But I realized that I didn't finish my other part about the contract. Do you want me to finish?
Please, yes.
Talking about that? Yeah. Oh, well, anyway, because I realized that it just came to me. Keith was like, you need to finish that after this call. I was like, oh yeah. I started to do it in real time, and then I was like, I didn't finish it.
Like while you were with me. Now you sing. Keith's like, hello, my records are open.
Yeah, exactly. The contract, it's just hanging there. But anyway, I'll have to go through that. But I would be curious to hear, I don't know if you've talked about this a lot on here, how you look at contracts, but But that's what I do. I just try to update I de-energize. A lot of my work is de-energizing pictures, which are essentially like visual representations of your beliefs and how you're going through life. So that's what I would do. Just like brush off the contract with all of that stuff, take out. Well, it's different with people, but in this case, I would take out the cords, give them a little healing, and then update it in present time. Then I put it in little gold light and just send it up. to the universe.
That's really, and you know that with the pictures that you're talking about, have you ever heard of neuro-linguistic programming? NLP? Yeah. And have you ever taken it? Because
No.
that's something that is done in NLP, is to take a picture, whether it's a movie or a snapshot of something, drain the color out of it, change the shape of it, move it around and stuff to like, actually what you're doing is you're changing the neural architecture associated with that belief or pattern or memory or event or whatever. And so then you're changing the energy of it. It's kind of like, EFT tapping, and you're interrupting the energy, by tapping on the meridians. So by changing this, it's called submodality. By changing the picture of it, you're actually changing the static energy about it, and making it. Anyway, that's the NLP.
Oh, I've heard of NLP. I didn't realize that's what they do. That's
one of the things. It's one thing that's done. Yeah. But,
okay.
Yeah, I'm studying
because
it now.
that's what I do. I look at, like, for instance, if people are courting each other or animals, then I'll look at, there's always a picture behind the cord. So I'll de-energize that, drain it into something and blow that up. And then,
That's so cool. And I'm studying NLP now. And as I'm studying it, and there's like this other thing, and I'm like, oh, I already do that. And it's like, really cool because it's natural. And that's just a system that's organized some of those tools. But, like you or I and different healers or readers come across these things naturally because they're just natural and very, very resourceful tools that we all just kind of do. So tell us about, you see pictures in the chakras too? That's, How to explain that? Because I don't necessarily hear people talk about it that way. So what's your experience?
Oh, okay. Well, this is where how I learned it, where I like officially went to school for doing to learning how to do this healing in a deep way. So I went to, I actually learned from a teacher who went to Psychic Horizon School in San Francisco, and this is like their program curriculum. So essentially what I do is when anybody, I have my own take on it, but the basis of it is that I look into the chakras. For when someone has an issue, I can see like, oh, a certain chakra will light up, or it will be just really obvious which chakra is involved, and the pictures will light up. So I'll just like look at the pictures and move them, and then oftentimes I'll just tell the people what I'm seeing as I'm draining them, just so they can know what's happening and get that validation. But that's how, like I said, they teach in pictures because from their philosophy is it's a lot less mergy energetically if it's in visual. Right. But my main way of doing my psychic work, or whatever you want to call it, is I often will just get feelings and hearing. So I'll hear a lot of times, or I'll just know this is what's happening. And then I'll ask for the picture of that knowing so that I can drain it. Sometimes it is just an energy field. Like a lot of times I'll see invalidation in people's spaces. So that's not a picture. That's just an energy level. Yeah. So I'll get that out of there because nobody wants invalidation in their space. But so that's like the main thing that I learned when I have changed a bunch of things since, not changed, but added on to their curriculum. Like I said, they're really, really strict about the merging because, as empaths and psychic people, energy reading people, were very sensitive. So I do appreciate that they stressed that, because I do a whole separation after each reading so that people's energies go back to them, so it's not so mergy. But at the same time, you go with your instinct and your intuition. And a lot of times that is about, it's a knowing that I get.
I have, there's another, I don't know if it's the same, I don't think it's the same system. I can't remember. My friend David Gandelman, who's been on the program a couple of times, and he's trained in a similar way, and he teaches his students to start with clairvoyance and has them to stop feeling.
Wow.
And like it's a way to start. And then I talked to him about it in depth, and it's kind of like, yes, well, after you develop your clairvoyance or something like you're saying, it's a little bit more, it's cleaner in a way, the clairvoyance. And then later, when you do a certain amount of work or you understand it better, then you can bring in the clairsentience or something, which makes it actually makes a lot of sense. If I look at my path, I think I just kind of had to do that because my being so highly empathic and not being over a certain threshold of being healed and understanding the balance of the empathic nature moving as a healing implement rather than a sponging implement.
Yes.
And you can project your own pain if you're using that sensitive nature. And so I think I did start to rely on clairvoyance or clairaudience, and then later kind of brought the clairsentience or the empathic nature back into it, and learned a lot how to use it better. And I think that I also tell another thing that I teach my students, to use their tools. I teach them about projection, and I teach them that, and this is something I do, like if you are having a hard time, like you're having a challenge, there's something emotional going on, but you have a session, you have a reading, maybe emphasize clairvoyance because you might be a little weak in the sensitive nature. You know what I mean? It's just a suggestion.
Right.
But,
yeah, no, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Another great thing that I learned from there was about the center of the head. So that's like the point of neutrality. So and it's not, how I learned it is this, you imagine like a gold ball in the center of your head and it expands and then you go back down. And so that's where the reading is coming from. It's not coming from a chakra or anything else. So there's the center of your head, then there's the analyzer, which is like right in front of that. And then there's your sixth chakra. So just being real careful. Sometimes you'll know, like, sometimes there's pretty invasive guides going on in the people's spaces, and occasionally they'll get into my space and I'll know because I'll be like, whoa, I'm not able to see anything right now. So I'll have to take a second to go back to the center of my head. So for having that as my anchor has been really good for neutrality, because you do have to be in neutrality. I have had lots of sessions with people who, even having that, I mean, you have to just be we're humans, so it's real easy to get out of neutrality and project.
Yeah, absolutely.
Be real careful about that, I think.
Do you know your human design type?
No.
Oh, I'm so curious.
Oh,
go find it out and email me later.
Is that Akashic record thing, or
no?
What
Human
is that?
design. I'm new to it, or just learning about it. But human design is it actually takes into it's got 4 different modalities. So the chakra system, astrology, the I Ching, and the Kabbalah tree of life. But it is based, like the way you find out is off of your birth date, just like with the natal chart and natal astrology chart.
So like there's a site that says human design and your birth date?
You can look up human design, and the way to find your type is on mybodygraph.com. But if you just Google human design, I'm just curious about it because I'm learning a little bit about it. And so I'm imagining that you are either a projector or you could be a reflector like me. So anyway, find out.
Yeah, I'll email you and tell you what it was.
Yeah, you need to know your time it's just like with your natal chart, your time of birth as well.
That's fun. I love all that stuff.
But the reason I say is because I know what I had already learned about the way my aura works, and then after I was introduced to human design, the human design model actually confirmed it, and it freaked me out a little bit. And I had an astral dream where my guides were really in depth explaining to me about how my aura works. The way that my aura works is that it's what they call a sampling aura. So it samples everything. It just sounds like the ultimate empath. You know what I mean? But
yeah,
the reason I bring it up too is because you were talking about the golden sphere in the center of the head. That's actually how I feel my energy field to be. And like in the center of my energy field is like nothing. It's like pure consciousness. You know what I mean?
Okay, yeah.
But pure consciousness is nothing. It doesn't know anything.
Right.
And so then, all the different layers and the sampling and everything is, I don't know. That's how I learned to deal with my sensitive nature, my empathic nature, was because as I sample it, but I have to release it and not identify to it. And I do use it in readings that way. So
that's how, I mean, a lot of people, that's how I learned how to survive growing up, was to be able to read my parents. And then it took many years to release my mother's energy from my field. and it's still in there a little
I was going to
bit.
say, you did it already?
Yeah. Well, I spent many years. It's been a long time, but yeah, it's still in there a little
I was
bit.
just clearing some stuff this morning because, the path is a spiral, as they say. So I've gone back around and I'm like, oh my gosh, there's this one moment with my mom in a store and I was 7 and this was happening. I was literally clearing that. It's really, yeah. And I actually did what we're talking about. I changed the modality of it. I froze it. I drained the color out of it. I changed it. I dematerialized it. I let it become neutral energy. I was grateful for the lessons for it. I went to my mom's higher self and said, we made it. We both did it. It's fine. We're great. I'm so proud of you and I'm proud of me. To release
Is she alive still?
She is, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Do you talk, are you close to her or you do?
Well, we have a lot of, there's a lot of mess in the family. So she's married to a person that is not in my life. And so that kind of, but the door is open for our relationship. But since she has a partner that is, there's no relationship
well, you
there.
don't have to be open to it anyway. I mean, my mom is now dead, but when she was alive, we had it was fine, but I had to have all the boundaries up, no real connection.
Yeah.
I mean, we talked, but
yeah, we talk occasionally, but she's anyway. Yeah, it's a thing. I'm not shy to share it. For myself personally. I just don't want to tell other people's story. I don't want to tell her story, obviously.
Right. Yeah.
But boundaries. You know what I mean? I still have to have boundaries because there are just choices and patterns over there that I no longer want to have active in my life. And I've actually we haven't really had a close relationship for 25 years now. Mm-hmm. So given the deep, profound, horribly abusive, sad, traumatic stuff that it's not just that person, but with my father too, who is passed, because I separated from them from early adulthood on, I think the cleanup was a little bit easier because you're not activating the patterns, and not that I wish that on other people. First leave your family and then we'll fix you.
I mean, sometimes if it's that toxic, you really have to. I mean, for your own, especially if you're someone that feels other people's feelings really strongly, they really get in there.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I mean, that's why when I found, again, this work that I do now, when I was learning it, it was the most powerful of all the modalities that I learned, because it was all about, or maybe that's what I was focusing on, was just clearing out my space, clearing it out, so that I could have access to my own information. And, like you said, it's all a spiral, because now I'm noticing, now it's body level stuff. For so long it was just energy level stuff, because I am so sensitive that I just didn't have that energy boundary. That was so huge for me when I got an energy boundary, and I learned about that and how to clear out other people's, because my mother's energy was very strong.
How long has she been gone?
7.5 years.
Oh, that's a long time.
And I always like to say that our relationship is better now than it ever has been. Yeah. Because we talk, and that's not because she's dead. No, it's because we talk, and when it was so clear to me when she died that the ego just died right away. And it's not that she became the empress, loving, nurturing, some ideal mother figure, but she was loving. She had more access to knowing, I shouldn't have done that, or that wasn't helpful. And it was definitely, she still had her sassy, she still has her sassy nature, but it's way softer. I mean, she was not soft at all in body.
That's how it's turning out with my dad. My dad's been gone now 3.5 years, and we didn't have a relationship. I saw him three times or something like that the last 5 years that he was alive, but before that I hadn't seen him for 20 plus years at all. And didn't speak. He was very, very riddled with alcoholism, and he was when we were younger, not as he got older, I don't think, but he was violent, and so that the violence mellowed out later in his life. I don't think he had any domestic violence with his wife after my mother. But it's interesting, since he's passed, and I actually crossed him over when he passed, and because he was terrified. I mean,
wow.
yeah, he came to me freaked out because he was
Oh.
he said like in his while he was alive that he was just going to hell. So that was his belief, and he was terrified of And he was really toward the end too. He was terrified of dying. He was like checking his heart rate all the time because he knew that it was getting close to his time, and he was just terrified of that punishment thing, that model of hell and burning to death and all, not burning to death, burning for eternity, whatever that model is. He was really conditioned in that. So when he was passing, and he actually crossed over before his body had completely expired.
Oh, wow.
But he came to me freaked out. And so that was interesting. When he came to me freaked out, I just went into meditation, and he showed up in my field like, and I was like, okay, hold on. And I put talk about boundaries. I put up a white light and I was like, how do I do this? I have no idea. And I walked him to the light, and it was it was wild. And so
what happened when I'm curious because I have a less important story, but about having less emotionally charged about helping someone go to the light. But what happened did you see him go or?
Yeah, I mean, it was, I don't have it because, of course, when we are in deep states anyway, there's amnesia. So I kind of have an energy memory of it. But yeah, I did. What I remember is, so it was the days leading up to it, he was actually, I guess, kind of in a coma or something. And so I was connecting with him before that. And in another state, I didn't go to the state. I didn't go to see him. And he was like out of it. And when I was connecting with him at first, he was like all like, oh, hey, baby. And, just like he was just cruising because he was on, they had him medicated, and he just thought he was dreaming. But he was talking about his mom being his mom was passed, and his dad and everything, and talking about it for everyone who was there. And I was like, yeah, I know. And then I was like, hey, Daddy, if you get scared, just come find me, okay? And he's like, oh, okay, like blah, blah, whatever, like just dreaming. And then, and he did, I remember him saying, okay, baby Trish, you're my angel. And we're from Texas. You're my angel, my angel. And I was like, yeah, Daddy, I'll be your angel.
Aww, and that's sweet.
Yeah. And then, so that was like 2 days. And then he, I was driving actually, and all of a sudden I felt in my body, and I could feel that he had left his body, and that his body wasn't viable for him to go back. And I was driving, and my sister called, and right after that, and I was like, he's not going back into his body. She goes, that's why I'm calling. I thought that too, which is weird because she's not like it's not like she does this for a living. She's just a sensitive type. And you're super psychic or mediumistic or whatever when your parent is going through, you know what I mean? Even if you don't have a relationship or whatever, it kicks on that DNA. And so
it can.
Yeah, it doesn't necessarily. Yeah. That's true. That's right. But my sister is like, already very sensitive, I guess. And so then but it was the next morning. So it wasn't until the next morning that then he showed up at my meditation, freaked out because again, he was just hanging out in the room, having a party. You know what I mean? I just thought like, oh, I'm dreaming. This is cool. And then, but it was interesting when he came to me freaked out. I asked my family later, asked my sister, I was like, did you guys decide to like that you weren't going to keep him on because we were going to unplug him, and I was like, did you decide that at about 8:40? And she was like, yeah, because that's when he showed up. And
oh, wow.
So he either heard it or felt it or whatever, that he wasn't going back in his body. So yeah, I talked to him about, after I put this white light up to give me some space to kind of regroup. And then I just held his hand and I said, talked about his mom coming, and that was all real and everything's going to be fine. And I just asked him to focus on me as it almost felt like he was backing into it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I was like, it's okay, Daddy, go ahead. And then just kind of was gone.
And have you talked to him since?
Yeah, I have.
Yeah.
It took a while. And again, we didn't have much of a relationship. And a friend of mine, a few people would pick him up when they were doing practice readings. Like my students will do practice readings on us, or a friend was talking to me. And weirdly, his wife died a year later on his birthday.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So he came through then, and it's been a little bit more and more since. So yeah, he's been really encouraging and helping me with patterns, as I'm working on something in a workshop, like where I'm attending, not giving the workshop, and he'll show up and he'll have all these synchronicities, and It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, I think because when we heal ourselves, we heal the past and we heal these patterns that they want us. They're like rooting for us because we're healing. I mean, it makes it sound selfish, but they know how big it is. It's like that we're healing not just them, but like the whole line,
including for our relatives who are here still. So like today, like you were asking me if my mom was passed because I did all of this healing. That healed our line, and that healing is offered to her. Obviously, we can always reject any healing that's offered, but why wouldn't she, receive that healing? I feel like I've been talking so much, and I'm trying. I want to know all about you, but I feel like great. Also we're just hanging out. Even more than usual.
Well, I just want to say, I'm hearing a weird noise, but anyway, I wanted to say that when my mom passed, I wasn't aware. So it was like a real shock.
Of course.
I didn't feel that, but I had a very strange experience with when I had been meditating a while, but I was like, it was 1999. And I had just started like talking to guides, just experiencing it. Like, I guess it was kind of channeling at that point. I was writing out what their message was to me and stuff. And, I was sleeping one night and I always am like, it wasn't really JFK Jr. because, we always think like, why is it always a famous person to come to you? But I thought I was dreaming. Well, I was dreaming, and that JFK Jr. had come to me, and he was like kind of floating in between, and he was confused about where he was. And I was like, well, have you asked your guides? And he was like, what guides? And I was like, well, if I have guides, you have guides. and I was like, look up. And he looked up and he got sucked into this light. And I woke up like I was sucked up awake.
Oh, that's amazing.
I know. It was so amazing.
Wait, when did he pass? I don't remember. Was that around the time he passed?
1999.
Okay.
Yeah. It was like a month after, maybe.
Oh, wow.
Maybe a couple of weeks after. And, I also say like people will use valences. They'll have a valence. Sometimes it won't be like, sometimes I see this, a friend of mine who passed, when he first passed, he was putting on a valence of like an Indian sage.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So that's not what he looked like, in real life. But so I'm like, well, maybe it wasn't him, but whoever it was definitely needed help and definitely like was sucked up into the light, because it was really crazy. It was like the most physical experience I've ever had.
And I've had that before. Yeah, and I think when my dad crossed, I could really feel, and he probably did use some of my energy, and so I and I felt that before, where they actually kind of use your crown or something as a portal. And it's not like something that's necessary, and it's certainly not something that I would teach people if I were teaching them how to, to be mediumistic, to teach them that, because you don't want to leave yourself vulnerable to it. But I do kind of have, you have like with your guides, hey, what's best, and this, I only want the best thing for myself and then everyone. And so, things are kind of creatively done sometimes so that it helps. But it's always like it didn't deplete me at all. That's always
right. Yeah, that's what matters. Or, knowing how to heal yourself if you are feeling depleted.
Yeah.
I do think where I learned the basic stuff that I do, like the spine of what I do, got me a little bit too, it's like, I was going to say careful about like not bringing anybody in and protecting my space and stuff like that. But I think that this is now, I've been doing this since 2001. So like at this point I can, I think that it's okay. Like, know what you're doing.
Yes.
You can.
Right. And again, it's okay if there's something new you're learning, and then you get, you know what I mean? Like you're finding new boundaries, new edges to your work.
Yes.
That's going to happen too. But definitely, that's why I think the model that you were taught and that my friend teaches can be very smart, like to start with clairvoyance so that they aren't merging, as you say. That seems like a really smart way to teach people who are just starting to understand their energetic abilities. So,
yes.
I'm with them on
and
that.
It's really good to know. I have helped people remove aliens and, other beings that they didn't want in their space. And you definitely need to be neutral. Like, I'm very grateful for my training in that case, because even if you could sense that something was there, if you're scared, that's not going to help.
Right. Absolutely. No, because then you're acknowledging that you're somehow vulnerable to it, which you're not. You know what I mean?
Right. Exactly.
You're rejecting your free will, choice, and sovereignty and everything.
Exactly. And a lot of times these things that are hanging around, if they are hanging around, don't want to cause harm. They're just
bored, or some of them are mundane, some of them are bored, some of them are just like not much different than people. You know what I mean? Like they're reckless or something like that. Yeah. But
and they just need to have the boundary. Like, oh no. The last one I did a month ago, the client was referring to them as shadow people. And I was like, that sounds ominous. And when I went in and saw it, it was like, oh yeah, I could see why he said that, but they were just like these silly kind of aliens who were taking notes on him. And he was like, that's exactly what I feel like. I was like, they're studying you. And he was like, yes, that's what it is. Like, I don't want them studying me. So I was like, okay, listen guys, let's just stop it.
Oh, that's hilarious to me, because I had this picture of them being like these short little nerdy guys.
Oh, that's so funny. Yeah,
aliens.
and he saw them as huge, so I was like, oh, what are we going to deal with here? But then it was just like, oh no, go find something else to study.
Go ask someone's permission. Like maybe that too, because especially if we're talking about some like Zeta Reticula and some other alien or ET species, they don't really understand how sensitive we are. You know what I mean? Like, and some of them, if you just told them, look, if you ask, there are people who would be complicit if you're going to be cool, and you ask their permission, and then it might be easier for you. They may actually need that explained to them, some of these beings,
totally. Yes, like just ask first. Someone may be into it.
Yeah.
I'm sure they have the information to go figure it out who would be into it. They probably didn't even know. Like, I didn't ask them because I was just focused on getting them away.
And that's all that's really important, right?
What's that?
That's all that's important, is getting them away. You know what I mean? Like, that's your job. That's your
But they probably didn't even know he was that upset about, or they're just like, oh, we're being secretive, but this guy was so sensitive that he could tell.
Poor guy.
They probably I
don't mean to laugh,
really bad for him.
I'm laughing at the work that we do. It's so weird.
I know.
Sometimes you see it from
totally
okay, well, I want to ask you about animal communication. The school in San Francisco, did you study animal communication there, or how did you start doing the animal work? Is it?
No, I didn't. But actually, what really happened was, well, first of all, animals are just like people, so I just used the same technique. I never took a specific animal communication class there. Unfortunately, what really clicked on what gave me the confidence was when my dog died. And so I was trying to find him because he had gotten out, and I had a cord sent to him, and I was like, I saw that, I was like, Charlie, get up, because I saw he was laying down, and I was not neutral whatsoever because I was so upset. And he was like a heavy, like, I was like, he's just so tired. But what I realized after was that he was dead. So that's why his body wasn't moving, and that's what he was trying to tell me. But even though at that point I had done, I don't even know how many years, over a decade of doing readings for people at that point, or for myself too, with animals, I have such a sensitivity to them that it was really hard for me being neutral. So I was always like, no, I don't really do that. But that it's kind of sad to say, but gave me the confidence to know that I knew what I was doing, because it was so clear that I had contact with him when I did that. So since then, I've been doing it pretty regularly, and he's been talking to me a lot too. He's a little helper, but yeah, sometimes animals talk to me so clearly. It's like, I had a friend last year, her dog got out, and her dog told me, I'm trapped in a barn. Like, it came out of nowhere. I just heard him say that, and he had been gone for a week. She thought for sure he was dead. I was like, I really don't think he's dead. And then he was trapped in a barn. So sometimes it comes really clearly, so nothing I was trained to do, just because I do this work so much that I'm open in that way. So of course it would go to animals too. Absolutely. I just had kind of resisted doing it because I never want to tell anyone that their cat is dying, but at this point now, when I'm in neutral, when a cat is dying, I'm able to tell them like, okay, they're looking at it, looking at death, or I can see all the more positive aspects of it.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit, I have less resistance now. I mean, I have no resistance now because I'm doing it. Although I will say that like finding animals.
I was going to ask you that next. It's the hardest one, isn't it?
Oh, you think so too?
Well, it's hard to be neutral too with that one because I want that outcome. And it's like, for me, that's the most, that for personally, you know what I mean? It's hard for me to be neutral because having my animal lost is way, I don't want to say it's worse, but it somehow is just so much more terrifying than even just their natural death, because their natural death is, there you go, you know what I mean? Like that's we're gonna have to live that. But it's hard. And it's also, I've had many very successful lost animal cases, but I don't take them that often. I actually kind of dissuade it. And,
me too.
Yeah. And the way that I am most successful though is to be there physically. And a lot of my clients are online because my body is then like a dowsing rod. It's a divining rod, and I can, go where they are.
Yeah.
But I've also been able to scry on a map from, and as I did that, and I took this map where I had circled, just scried into it and circled to on a Google map and gave it to the person. And then I actually did show up the next day, and my body took me to that place. She goes, "That's where you circled yesterday." And I was looking here yesterday. But she was panicked. You know what I mean? Like she doesn't know how to be neutral, and it was a cat, so the cat's hiding and blah, blah, blah. But
yeah, it's really hard to find. Like sometimes when it's clear, it's super clear. Yeah. Like, oh, this animal got hit by a car. Like or whatever. But when maybe it's because they're moving, because actually right now my neighbor's dog is lost. And I did see like the general area, and I also saw like, oh, I think they're in a house because I saw a window and stuff. But it's not. I think part of it is like they're not clear.
They're not clear. And actually I'm starting an animal communication program, just a 4-week program starting this week. And we have the previous students, they are in a Facebook group together and they support one another. And we were just talking about that. When an animal is lost, they're anxious. And so the timeline is just so not linear. And I've worked on many, and I've worked with like in tandem with another animal communicator. And we have to ask, like, are your feet on the ground right now? Because even asking them if they're alive or not is hard to tell, because they're like astral, because they're freaked out and they're lost, and and you're seeing pictures of different things. And then of course it's like, they're showing this one. I remember I'm like, I'm seeing these little small signs. It's like a little sign. It's like green. It has some writing on it. Of course they can't read. And the person's like, yeah, this is a 2 mile square foot condo complex with recycled water only grass signs all over the place. And I'm like, awesome. Yeah. You've just described every single like sidewalk. And I'm like, okay, very helpful. Yeah.
Well, that's good for me to hear too, because I always feel bad, like especially, I mean, again, unless it's really, really, really clear, like they know what happened, like that one that got hit by a car a few weeks ago, they were saying they felt bad because they knew what happened, and they felt like they let their owner down, which was really sad.
Oh, poor baby.
But it was really clear, okay, this is what happened. But it's good to know I'm not the only one, because I'm like, I don't want to take these where are they, because
it's hard.
It does seem like they're confused, so how am I supposed to relay that?
Well, I think the best thing that we do, this is how I have it distilled, if this helps you. The human and the animal find one another, and we help them with that connection. So like we can't be, they're standing on First and Main, go pick them up at 2. Like obviously, right. That's not going to happen. But we can, first of all, when you actually connect with the animal then starts to get a bit grounded, because they know that they're being looked for. They can get a little bit present, and then you're facilitating the etheric cords, you're facilitating their bond, and then the you know what I mean? But the person also has to be still on the, anyway. But
prayer, I do hook up a cord.
Yes, absolutely. Prayer works, and I'll sometimes tell the animal, especially if it's a dog, I'll say, come out from where you're hiding and find someone who has light, like they can feel and see the light around them, because it might be a person who'll help to get them where they need. I mean, all those kinds of things. But
like with the barn dog,
Yeah.
I was like, don't go out until you see light, because
Yes.
he was like blind, so I didn't want him to go out in the dark anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, communication cord is good too. But I definitely prefer to work with animals almost in any other state.
Yeah.
Because I get worried and I want those animals to come home. It's very challenging to be neutral.
One of the cases I went and we had found the cat, but she kept getting scared and running from us. And it was like she was running all over. And this was actually that 2 square mile condo complex. So, we kept losing her and everything, and then she just showed up home the next morning because we had first built an energetic cable cord between them that she was able to reactivate. And also I think we built a scent trail for her because she was a little bit lost. So you know what I mean? Like, so then she showed up the next morning, but she'd been gone for like over a week and she couldn't figure out how to get home. She was very disoriented. So again, they found each other, they figured it out. But I left that night at like 3 a.m, soaking wet because it was raining, and the kitty was out there running from bush to bush, and we couldn't get her. We couldn't get her to get out of that fight flight.
Yeah, it's good to use it. You could have a trap maybe next time if you
I know she didn't have one, but and I think they were. Oh, actually, I think I did bring her one. They did have one. That's right. They did have one with food and everything, but she just kept not getting there.
She
anyway,
didn't want to do it.
I feel like we could just talk all day. I feel like we're sitting together having coffee, just talking.
I know it does.
All right, so we talked about the contracts, the past lives. We talked about animals and babies, and also Magic Monday. Tell folks a little bit about Magic Monday. If by the way, Natasha's links, all of that, of course, as always, are in the description, however you're listening or watching. But tell folks about Magic Monday.
Yeah, so Magic Monday is a podcast about, our tagline is all the ways that we use, I think Tess is always one who says it, the magic in our everyday lives. So I have a segment called the Energy Report where I talk about essentially, I'll notice from my readings that week what the energy is, like what people are dealing with on a kind of mass level. And I talk about that. And then I give a little energy healing tip to deal with that. And Tess has a ritual. Her segment's called Practical Magic. And we interview people sometimes. We pick a card for the week and talk about the energy of that week. And it's fun and funny, I hope. And I think a lot of people get a lot of tools, magic and energy healing tools.
Yes, it's a really great podcast. You guys go
thanks.
Check it out. So do you have an episode every Monday? Is that why it's called Magic Monday? Okay.
Mm-hmm. That's right. Yeah. And we answer questions too. Yeah.
People email or comment. Mm-hmm. That's awesome.
Yeah.
You guys are amazing. Really great work. And like you said, your husband produces it, and he does the music. Is that right?
He adds little. He doesn't actually. Tessa's partner did the opening music.
That's right. Because my husband's also a composer, and so he does my music. That's right.
Oh, that's fun. Yeah, my husband does just like the little sound bitey thing, the little music after our segments.
Yeah,
we have things. Yeah.
So awesome.
Yeah, it's really fun. We love doing it. And it's been really nice way, like we've built a little community. It feels like people are really getting a lot from it. It's nice. I'm an Aquarius, so I love community, and it feels like a nice community.
Oh, that's nice. My husband's an Aquarius too.
Oh, yeah? Yeah. When's his birthday?
February 15th.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm January 29th.
Okay.
Oprah's birthday.
What? That's my dad's birthday.
That is crazy that you're saying that, because do you know that I have 4 friends whose dads have my birthday?
Oh, weird.
Isn't that weird? And they've all had really difficult relationships with their dads, every single one. But I just want to say, not to say anything bad about male Aquarians, but I do feel male and female Aquarians are very different.
Yeah.
I hope I'm not on the inside a terrible dad, because literally not one of them has had I have such a great relationship with my dad. So funny. I should just ask people, when's your dad's birthday when I meet them?
Yeah. Let me tell you about your Aquarian dad.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Well, this has been so amazing. Is there anything else you want to share with folks before I let you go? Because I could just keep you here all day, and this has been really amazing.
I know, it's so fun. I'll just say, yeah, that if you go to my website, Highest Light Healing, that's the name of my um, business. And yeah, if you go to the website, you can schedule a reading if you want one, or sign up for my newsletter. I do one every week, and I'm starting to do blog posts every week about just ways to help people, especially during the holidays right now. I think it's hard for sensitive people.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of energy going around, a lot of family
Yeah.
visits and stuff. So yeah, that's about it, I
Well,
think.
this has been really just so fun, and
Yeah, thank you.
maybe you'll come back another time. I don't know.
Yeah,
I'd
it'd
love
be
it.
really fun.
It would
I
be
know.
so
I feel
fun.
like we could talk another hour.
Yeah. And of course, if you're ever in Los Angeles again, you used to live here, but if you ever come visit, then you could come in studio or come hang out. And but it's been really amazing. Thank you for the work that you do, all of it, and for sharing. And thank you and Tess for Magic Monday. And I really appreciate you for coming on.
Yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Natasha Levenger, everyone, go to highestlighthealing.com to see all that she does and to check out Magic Monday. And thank you so much for coming to this podcast. I would love it if you would like, subscribe, share, comment, review the podcast. Oh my goodness, that helps so much. And if you are listening to this in somewhere along the timeline of it publishing, then I have coming up the continuation of my mini series of episodes, The Metaphysics of the Bible. The next episode will be coming out this week. And keep checking the podcast and the YouTube channel because I'm doing mini episodes between these major episodes, between the full-length ones on different topics. And I really love connecting with you guys. And so I guess that will do it for this amazing episode. Thanks for tuning in. I love you, whoever you are.